Okay, so in this video, we're going to talk through the 5 hidden permissions or security settings you have access to in Microsoft Teams. Now, one of the things that we kind of get caught up on, and one of the probably misunderstood permissioning structures in Microsoft Teams, is that as a member, it seems like on the surface you have read-write access to everything within the team until you start creating like private channels or shared channels or things along those lines. But even with the standard channel and the standard team, you actually have access to manage those permissions. And those usually fall into 5 different scenarios. And in this video, we're going to chop through and look at all of the 5 most common scenarios and how you can manage and manipulate the permissions in Teams to meet these requirements. So the first one is going to be, if you look at my teams here, I have several teams, and under, let's just say, the Supercharger BP team, which is one of our project teams that we use to create Tesla chargers, as an example, in this fictitious Tesla tenant. Standard team, I have the Files tab, I have my folders, but what I want to have a designated folder to where only my owners have access to. So I want to lock out all of my other members. So if I look at the permissions on this team, if I go to Manage Team and then look at the permissions, you will see that Deshaun and Andre are the only owners, and then we have Madison, Ethan, and Madison Wilcox, the Madison twins, who are members of this site. So now if I go into General and let me switch over to, let's just say, one of the Madisons, and she takes a look at, you can see my Supercharger BP in the background. That's the Sean persona here. And this would be the Madison persona here. Under the Files tab, we can see the same files. And using this scenario, what the most common mistake would be, they will create a private channel to where only the owners will have access to that channel because they want to lock it in. And usually private channels, they, along with other things, they add confusion to the structure of the file storage, right? Because now what you're doing, you're splitting your files into multiple channels. It becomes confusing on where to store what. But what we want to do is keep everything in the context of the team under the General tab. That's plenty. But we want to lock down this admin folder to only our owners. So how do we do that? So you go to the folder, and if you click on the ellipsis, the set of options will come up. You would have this manage access. And this is how you actually itemize security or limit security in a standard document library within SharePoint. And since, I will say in the past few months or so, Microsoft has brought that forward and allow you to manage those same permissions, but in the Microsoft Teams view. So once you're here, you would notice that you have really 4 distinct groups. So you have owners. I'm not sure. I think this is like the original owner name. And then at one point the team was renamed. So for whatever reason, they created another owner group. But these groups are one and the same. It's confusing that may seem on the surface. So ignore the owners piece. But then you have visitors, which are users outside of your team. And in most scenarios, they have 0 access to your team. And then you have the members. And these, when you add users to your team, they're going to fall into 2 roles, right? You have the owners role or you have the members role. The members, anyone in the members role is going to fall into this group. So what we do is hit the pencil icon, and you have an option. I can give them read-only access, or I can do stop sharing, and that's what I'm going to do here. And then as soon as I do that, from an owner view, this looks exactly the same. But then if I switch over to the members view, click refresh so I can get the latest and greatest, you will see once that security gets applied to that particular folder, as a member, because this is the owners only access, I don't even see that folder. And this allows the members, the owners of the site, to come in here and share either confidential or restricted information like budgets or payroll or any other things that may be related to this particular project. And you can store that in a secure way. And as an owner, I still see everything else in the context of this team. I'm not figuring out which channel should I store or whatever the case may be. I'm, through training or through the process or procedures, it's understood that your admin folder is going to be secure and only owners will have access to it. So that's one. The other one is, which is one I kind of touched on a little bit. Let's just say, for example, in the requirements document folder, let me just create a few files here. Okay, so I have a few files set up here in this requirements folder. And basically, as a business analyst, I want to show the traceability matrix and show the different use cases that I've gathered with the business user and have information documented here. But I don't want anyone modifying this, right? So I probably want only myself as a business analyst and maybe, three people who's working in this area for the particular project to have access to modify it. All my other team members as part of this Microsoft Teams site, I want them to have read-only access. So there's two things you can do here. So obviously you can go to a particular file and then select Manage Access, and then again go down to your members group here and then just select that from being edit, which is the pencil without the strike, to view only, which is the pencil with the strike, and select that, and then that would just automatically have this locked down for all my team members. So just to kind of see this in practice, again, I switch over to the Madison persona, I click in that requirements document, and notice what happens here. You will notice that I have two files. One file, my use cases, the one that is locked down for read-only access, have the icon with the slash through it, meaning that it's only read-only. If I click on that file, I can do exactly what my business analysts want me to do. I can view this document. I can scroll through it. I cannot make any modifications or edits to it. Even viewing this document, I can only see it in read-only mode. Okay? Right. So the question then you may ask the question, well, do I have to do that for each and every file within the requirements folder? And the answer to that is no. So what you can do is to go at the top, and this is going to be true for any security structure that you set up. If you set the default security at the parent level, everything within that folder will take on those security that security posture as its standard or as its default permission level. So if I go to requirements, go to manage access, and once again, I go now to the members group, which represents the members of my Microsoft team. Go ahead and select view on that one. And now, as a user, I go through requirements and notice that both of these have the edit option removed to where they only have read-only access. So this is one of those patterns of what we call the read-only access. And this will impact all members of the team except for owners. Right? Owners, you cannot lock them out. You can't block an owner within the standard channel. You can't remove their editing capabilities within the standard channel. And that's why when you go to manage your owners of your team, you're very judicious on who you invite with that level of power, with that owner permission level. Okay? So the next one we can take a look at, say for example, I have this requirements folder locked down to read-only access, but I'm working with another persona. So let's just say Ethan. So Ethan is part of this project, and when Ethan comes in to view the files in the Supercharger BP project in the requirements file, he would notice that all of these are read-only access like other members. But Ethan is actually part of the business analyst role. He's helping with the analysis and the assessment of what we're actually trying to build. So we actually need to give him write access to the use cases, but read-only access, but maintain that read-only access at the traceability matrix Excel file. So how would you do that? So again, as an owner, or someone who owns this folder, I can now go into use cases, manage access, and all of my members are going to have read-only access, but I do want to supersede that for Ethan, and I click on the direct access link, start to type his name, Ethan Cochran comes up, I select what type of access I want him to have, that's going to be edit. I don't need to send him a notification, just simply grant him access. And now I'm going to say, Ethan, go ahead and hit refresh. And now you should be able to modify that use cases document. Right? So now he goes into the requirements, and right away you can see traceability still have the read-only icon, but use cases doesn't have an icon, which denotes it has the read-write access. And now as Ethan, I can come in and modify this document and make the necessary updates. Right? So just to kind of drive this point home, I'm going to switch over back to Madison, who's only have read-only access, and I click refresh, right? So here I can confirm within the requirements folder, use cases, Madison can come in, take a look, and she only has read access, as well as she can see the latest and greatest provided by Ethan, who has read-write access. So this is the pattern where we call the selective only, or the select only, where your default posture may be read-only access to all my members of the team, but for these selective members, I'm gonna elevate their permissions because they play a different role. And again, this just opens up the capability and the possibilities of working with Microsoft Team and how you can use security to really kind of manipulate the security posture of your team, either at the folder level or at the file level, and still maintain. And here's the key: you're still maintaining the context of your files in your team, and I think that's really important. And if you pollute that by generating multiple channels, it becomes extremely confusing very fast. So here I just showed you that you can have the same structure in your general channel, and within this folder structure, you can manipulate the permissions of no access, read-only access, read-write access to a select few, or the default read-write for all your other members. So hopefully this is helpful. So now here's another capability that you have that a lot of us are not aware of or taking full advantage of it. You can actually share a particular folder out to another member, another colleague who's not even a member of your team. And again, this could be extremely important. So let's go ahead and create this folder called reports. And obviously, like, if you're like me, you're probably always reporting up or reporting out different statuses of the project. And in this report, let me just go ahead and create a few status report files. What we're trying to do is share this reports folder out to another team member or another team who don't have access to this BP supercharger team at all, but they need to stay up to date with the reports. So here's the weekly status of the reports, and basically this is just going to be our standard share link. And in the share link, I'm gonna just go ahead and click the ellipsis, click share, and I'm gonna do a share link versus a send link, and I'm gonna specify anyone that has this link will be able to view the files within this folder, and then I click apply. And then once I have this URL, now what I can do, I can switch over to this Tesla demo, which is a separate team that I'm also a member of, but a lot of these team members are not part of the BP, and create a tab. And this is just going to be your standard website tab. Select the website as a tab type, and then I'm going to just specify BP reports, and then paste in that share link. Right, and then I'm gonna just go ahead and post to the channel that this tab and the set of reports are now available. Now, once I click on that, me as a as I click on that, I'll be able to see all the wiki status reports. Again, I'm a member of this team that these reports are being surfaced from. So if I click on general, I get to see the same set of files that I saw here. Now let's switch over to I think this is Rachel. Let's switch over to the Rachel persona. Now, Rachel, again, does not have access to the Supercharger BP, but she does have access to the SP demo, which is the team that I shared the link in. So if she looks at the tabs, you'll see that I say, hey, I just added this, check it out. She click on the link, and she can see the status reports. And if she click on the status report, this will be read only. Because remember, we created that share link, and that we supercharged that link and said, whoever clicks on this link or have access to this link, only give them access to the folder and all the sub files within it. But watch this. Here's the clear distinction. She can use this breadcrumb, she as in Rachel, and when she clicks on the general tab, notice how her view is a lot restrictive than my view, right? So in my general tab, I see all the other folders that represent the BP team, but her general tab, she only sees that reports folder. And then when she click on it, she only have access to the reports. And the reason for that is because she doesn't have access to the Supercharger BP team. So again, this is a way to where you can keep everything in the context of your channel. Keep everything in the context of your particular project, department, collaboration, team, whatever case, whatever scenario you're using Teams for. Keep all those folders there. But then go in and for each folder, manipulate the permissions to achieve the situation or to achieve the use case that you're trying to achieve. Here's the last one. The last scenario that I would say is probably, I won't say overlooked, but a lot of people don't realize that you can create this type of integrated or seamless interaction is when it comes to the message or the post, right? So these posts, it really depend on the size of your team, can be very, very chatty, meaning that, and the information that's posted here is really not targeted for everyone. So if you look at the file structure here, you can see that the different makeup or the different personas that this particular project team may have. And in this post, this could be the engineers talking to other engineers trying to get a certain situation ironed out, right? Or it can be the business analyst trying to follow up and get a lot of other detail. But, again, I'm saying all these different scenarios because the messaging is not meant for the entire team. It's really meant for a particular audience. And especially for engineers, it can get very techy and it could create a lot of noise to where, they can have this whole stream of trying to figure out a technical situation. And then there could be a message buried in there that may be addressed to the entire team, but it gets lost because a lot of these messages are being ignored because they're not relevant to the standard team member. So how do you take that? So the biggest question is, how do you take that messaging, move it off to a different area, in this scenario, chat, but still have access to your files? So this is one of those scenarios I love to do. So imagine I'm going to create a chat with, let's say, I can use this one. Let's see. Let me add in Madison. And okay, so let me pick on Madison Wilcox. Let me add in Madison Hatmaker, and then also add in Andre. And then let's add in Ethan. I'm trying to hopefully make this unique enough to where it creates a new chat. Okay, so these are all my engineers. So the first thing I'm gonna do is create a group chat, right? And then I'm gonna put a label on that chat because, this is maybe a group of people that I only want to use for this scenario. Now, this is one of those things I always get tripped up how to create a label, because I think I have to send a message first. Let's see, hello. All right, so then once I do that, notice how I get this pencil icon. It seems like that initial message kind of like it really like cements the group, and then it opens up this edit pencil option. So now I'm just call this the BP engineers, right? And as the BP engineers, we're going to talk about chatty stuff. And then I probably want to go ahead and pin this to where it's front and center for me, because I like to have, my frequent chats up here, top center, so that way they're easily accessible. But the other thing I want, again, if I go to this BP project, let me just open this up because I keep getting lost into the other personas. Okay, so I want to go in this BP project, and I want to go ahead and bring our files in here as well, right? So the best way to do that, if I click on Documents, and I click on the Share Link, and then what I want to do is just say only the people who currently have access. I don't want to supersede this access. I want to respect the access of the membership of the team. And then I go ahead and click Apply, copy that URL, and then go back to the chat, add this in again, very similar to what we've done before. Add this in as a website, and then just call this the PP documents, and then go ahead and paste that in. And I'm okay with posting in the chat. So now what we have, we can have a conversation, private conversation amongst the engineers, and we don't have to do this click, back to the team module, find our team, click on the Files tab, and then get to our documents. We now have a convenient way to interact with those same project documents here within the chat. And again, this just allows you to kind of take the chat noise out from the post section of your Microsoft team. Go ahead and make that private to those different personas, so that way they can geek out and work on different areas, but still have access to the teams and the files within your project. So hopefully these 5 are very helpful, and they have some light bulbs going out on how you can kind of leverage this in your Microsoft team, and you can actually apply this today or tomorrow, the next time you're in the office. So until then, I'll see you in the next video.